In Algebra 2, Section 6.4, we're dealing with polynomial functions. Now, there is a lot of things that is going on in the particular section, but we're just going to focus on certain things that you will definitely need to know how to understand and how to do them for your SATs and for your tests. So pay close attention because the book is a little bit overwhelming at this point for this section. So we're just going to focus on certain concepts. The first concept is being able to plug things in, okay? So in this case, we have p parentheses 3, p parentheses 4, and our equation p to the x. Now, some of you guys have seen it before. They're just trying to confuse you. Basically, what they're saying is the number that you have in here, or sometimes it's not just a number, it's an entire equation. The number that you have in here is what you replace for whatever's in here. So see how this is x? Well, it tells me that p of 3, I replace it with x. And then p of 4, I replace it with x in this equation. Okay? Now these are two different equations. Let's start with p to the third first. So basically I'm going to take all my x's and replace them by 3, but only the x's. So 3 cubed plus 3 squared minus 3. Okay? So, this 3 only applies to the x, right? So first I have to do powers according to the order of operations, and I just solve. So the hardest part, basically for this, is just to replace that 3 with the x. Once I've done that, then I'm set. All I have to do is just finish it off with math. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, so this is negative 27, plus 3 squared, which is 9, minus 3. So negative 27 plus 9, okay? So negative 27 plus 9 is 18, negative 18, minus 3. So negative 18 minus 3 would give us a negative 21. So my first answer is negative 21. Now, let's try the next one. The next one, I'm going to take this one and replace it again with x. So it's this entire equation, but instead of x's, I'm going to have 4. So here I have negative 4 cubed plus 4 squared minus 4. Alright? So again, I first cube the 4 and then I apply the negative. This is different. It would be different if it looked like this, because then the negative is attached to whatever's here. But this means that the negative is on the outside. So 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64, negative 64, plus 4 times 4, which is 16 minus 4. Okay? And then we go ahead and negative 64 plus 16 gives us a negative 48 minus 4. Negative 48 minus 4 gives us a negative 52. And these are our two answers, negative 21 and negative 52. So, again, once you see this, I'm going to match the letter with the equation, and whatever I have in here, I'm going to replace it with what I have in here. Now, this was a little bit more simple because there's just a number. It gets a little bit more complicated when what you have to replace is an equation, because then you'll have to start foiling, factoring, and lucky for you, we're going to do one of those to make sure that you understand. So we're going through our last example. Don't forget to write the pause it and write it down and do the vocabulary. So what we're going to do here is it's telling us that p of x is 2x cubed plus 6x minus 12, and q of x is 5x squared plus 4, and it wants us to find this. It's kind of like a code that we're going to need to figure out. So basically it's telling me that I'm going to multiply 3, right here 3, with the equation p of a. Okay? And then I'm going to multiply, I'm going to take q And instead of x, I'm going to replace it with a plus 1. So you need to kind of break it down. This is an equation, and this is an equation right here. But instead of x's, I'm going to replace all the variables with a. Now you can do this one or two ways. You can either just do the equation first and then replace later, or you can just just solve everything and then at the end replace all the x's with a's, or just do it all together. I'm going to do it all together, and if you want to know how to do it the other way, you can ask in class and I can help you with that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3, and p of a is this. So I'm going to put it in its little bubble right here, and I'm going to plug it in here. But instead of x's, I'm going to have what? A. So it's going to be 2a cubed plus 6a minus 12. Then I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to take all of q, and I'm going to put that in a little bubble. But instead of a, I'm going to put the entire equation a plus 1, and this is how it works. Every time I see an x, I'm going to put the entire bubble a plus 1. So it's going to be 5a plus 1 squared plus 4. You see that? Because this is an x, and instead of an x, I'm going to put all of this, a plus 1. So I'm not just replacing x with one number, I'm replacing with the entire equation. And as long as I put it in the bubble, I'm set. So this is the hardest part, is just setting it up. And then after that is math, but it's a little tricky. Because this, all I have to do is distribute, right? 3 times 2 gives me 6a cubed. 3 times 6 gives me 18a. And 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. Okay? The tricky part with here is this is a plus 1 squared. And this is not just a number, it's an equation. So what I have to do is I have negative 5, and then because it's an equation, I have to FOIL. So a plus 1 times a plus 1 plus 4. See how that works? Because of this. So, and this whole thing is distributed. So first, I'm going to distribute the negative here, so that's that negative. But I also, and don't forget to do this, have to distribute this. So this is not positive 4. What is this? This is negative 4. So, just in case you get confused, let's just go over what we've been over. I distributed this 3, right? This entire equation here is q a plus 1. So I put it in parentheses because it all needs to be grouped together. But instead of an x, I'm going to replace it with the equation a plus 1. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that because there's an equation, I can't just take 2 and distribute it in there. I can't take square and distribute it. I have to put it in 2 bubbles. Do you remember that when we have to FOIL it out? But I also have to take this negative, and I have to distribute it to the 5 and distribute it to the negative 4. Right? Once that happens, then I'm going to go ahead and FOIL this out. So I'm going to write everything exactly how it is. It's very important that you do all the steps so that you don't confuse yourself. And then in parentheses, I'm going to make this into one equation. And I do that by FOILing and distributing out. So a squared, a times 1 is plus a, and then this is plus a, and 1 times 1 is 1. So basically the only difference between here and here is that I FOILed this out. Okay? Now my next step is I'm going to go ahead and carry this down again, because I'm not yet ready to combine like terms, and this is all set. There's nothing else I can do here, so I'm going to bring it down. But this time I'm going to simplify this, so instead of a plus a, this makes what? A 2a, but I'm also going to distribute it into a squared. So negative 5, so what I'm going to do is a squared plus 2a plus 1 minus 4. And again, I'm going to write it down. 6a cubed plus 18a minus 36, because again, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to distribute it. So negative 5a squared, and then I'm going to distribute it here. Gives me what? A negative 10a. Alright? And then the last one is negative 5 to positive 1, which would give me negative 5. And because I've already taken this -5 and distributed it, then I don't need parentheses anymore and -4. So I have this long equation. One more time, these steps right here, okay, we're all focused on this section. I took this, distributed out, give me an equation. Then here I combine like terms, a and a, to make 2a. And that's the only difference. I carried everything else down, the -4s and the first part of the equation. And then I just distributed the 5. And that's how I got rid of these parentheses, making it just an equation. From here, all I need to do now is combine like terms. So here is a 6a cubed. Do we have any more cube? No, we don't. So this brings down. We can't simplify that anymore. We have an 18a. This is a -10a. So 18a minus 10a gives me a positive 8a. And I underline, remember, and I told you you either underline or cross out just so I know what I've already used and what's left over, or else I might get confused, especially with long equations like this. Okay? And then here I have -5a squared. I have no other a squared. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. And then finally I'm just going to do the last ones. Okay, -36 minus 5 is -41. Minus 4 is -45. And because none of these are like terms anymore, I'm going to go ahead and circle it. Now this is pretty long and it looks pretty complicated, but our main focus is this one right here. This is what made it so long. It's because of this is squared, and because it's not number, I can't just distribute the squared. I have to put it in its own bubble. But nothing, once you get past this step, all of this is just algebra stuff that we've been through. It's just all in one equation. So you have to make sure that you tackle it one at a time and everything else you bring down. It seems long, but that way you keep your organization to your final answer. 6a cubed plus 8a minus 5a squared minus 45. So go ahead and try page 335, number 4 and 7. 335, number 4 and 7, and let's just see how you go from there, and I'll see you in class.